I was about to knock on my parents' door when I heard them tell my brother, "Don't worry about the debt. We'll make your sister pay. She'll never say no to family." I froze on their front porch with my hand halfway to the door. I was just stopping by to drop off the birthday cake I'd made for my dad, but suddenly I was listening to my family plan how to scam me. My brother Jake was inside explaining how he'd racked up $18,000 in credit card debt buying crypto and fancy car parts. He'd lost his job at the warehouse 2 months ago and hadn't told anyone. Now the bills were piling up and he was freaking out. "Don't panic," my mom said. "Your sister just got that promotion at the bank. She's always been responsible with money." My dad chimed in. "Exactly. We'll tell her you need help with rent or something. She won't ask questions if we say it's an emergency." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They wanted to trick me into paying Jake's debt by lying about what the money was for. Jake seemed totally fine with this plan, asking if they thought I'd give him the full amount at once or if he'd have to ask for smaller chunks. "She'll probably want to write the check directly to the landlord," my mom said. "So we'll need to find someone to pretend to be your landlord." That's when I realized this wasn't just a desperate idea they'd just thought of. They'd been planning this whole scam, figuring out all the details of how to manipulate me. I quietly walked back to my car and sat there for a minute, trying to process what I'd just heard. Then I decided to have some fun with this. I went back to the door and knocked like nothing had happened. "Hey everyone, sorry I'm late." They all acted super normal, hugging me and thanking me for the cake. We sat around the kitchen table making small talk for about 20 minutes before Jake started his performance. "Actually, I'm kind of stressed about something," he said, putting on this worried face. "My landlord is threatening to evict me because I'm 3 months behind on rent. I need $4,000 by Friday, or I'm homeless." My parents immediately jumped in to support his story. Mom started crying about how awful it would be if Jake ended up on the street. Dad said the landlord sounded like a real jerk for not being more understanding. I acted totally concerned and asked a bunch of questions. "Oh no, Jake, that's terrible. What's your landlord's name? Maybe I could call him and work out a payment plan." Jake's face went pale. His name is Steve Johnson, but he's really mean and probably won't listen to you." "Steve Johnson," I repeated, pulling out my phone. "What's his last name again? I want to look up tenant rights in your area." Now my parents were looking nervous too. Mom quickly said maybe I shouldn't get involved directly, that it might make things worse. "You know what would really help?" Jake said, sweating now. "If you could just write me a check for the rent money. I'll handle talking to the landlord myself." I pretended to think about it for a minute. $4,000 is a lot of money, Jake. I want to make sure this is legit." The room got really quiet. Dad cleared his throat and said, "Family should always help family in emergencies." That's when I dropped the bomb. "Funny thing about family helping family," I said, standing up. "I was actually outside for about 10 minutes before I knocked. I heard everything. You should have seen their faces." Jake's mouth just hung open. Mom started stammering about how I must have misunderstood what I heard. Dad got angry and said I had no right to eavesdrop on private conversations. "Private conversations about how to scam me?" I asked. "Jake, $18,000 in debt? Really? And you all thought the best solution was to lie to me and steal my money?" Jake finally admitted it was true, but said he was desperate and didn't know what else to do. He started crying and begging me to help him anyway. I told him I might have actually helped if he'd just been honest with me from the beginning, but the fact that they'd all sat around planning how to manipulate me made it clear they didn't respect me at all. I left the cake on the counter and walked out. My phone blew up with texts and calls for the next 3 days, but I didn't answer any of them. 2 weeks later, Jake had to move back in with my parents and get a job at a fast food place to start paying off his debt. My mom called to apologize, but also asked if I'd consider helping with just a small amount. I told her the only thing I'd pay for was family therapy, because clearly we all needed it.